Marjolaine sat at the counter as she had for many, many days prior. As slow as business had been lately, it made sense to be a little open so early. Had there been a single day with more than 2 deliveries recently? Perhaps she would abandon the counter and pop over to the bakery down the way for a croissant or two. She could almost smell them. The butter, the flour, still steaming in the cool morning air. And dripping in the 1-0 way they would crackle. And ripping into the 1-0 the way they would crackle. Somebody help me with that. I'm not sure.
Ripping into one. Oh, they would crackle.
But she had yet to add the ultimate topping. Raspberry jam. Just a bit off the knife. Cellar cold, enough to brace against the warm, flaky divinity. Her eyes glazed over. This doesn't have voice acting, does it?
Nope.
Okay, who wants to be the voice of this beautiful woman? I'm gonna start calling people out if y'all don't start reading.
Oh god. Marjolaine, close your mouth. You're drooling all over my counter. And instantly she was... Oh, that's you.
Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is you are reading off the stream, which has a 3-second delay. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put this in a call on Discord like this. I'm gonna go live with the game like this. So read off the game, and we won't get that delay. Sorry, that should be obvious, but I forgot. Okay, and I instantly she was awakened to the scowling face of the owner of the Broomstick Express, her teacher, her boss, and now her judge, Madame Odette. She stared the little girl down, looking at the small puddle of drool on the countertop and shaking her head in annoyance. Marjolaine dabbed at the small puddle with her elbow. Who's gonna be Marjolaine?
I guess I can do that. Sorry, madam.
How many customers have you scared away with your open-mouthed daydreaming, eh?
As if we've had any.
Marjolaine finally noticed that her teacher held a small bundle wrapped in yesterday's newspaper.
Is that a delivery, madam?
I thought you might be hungry, so I brought some croissants from the bakery down the lane.
The madame set the bundle on the counter, which caused Marjolaine to perk right up. She set upon the bundle, but before she could claim her prize, Odette snatched it away.
However, breakfast is not for naughty little witchlings that loaf around and nap like old dogs when they should be studying.
Marge let her shoulders slump and stared at the floor. It would be a long morning without any food. And for her teacher to dangle a treat in front of her face, only to take it away moments later, was a special cruelty. She wanted to be more upset, and she was, but this was something deserved.
I am sorry, Madame Odette. I should have been more diligent with my duties. I will not let it happen again.
And?
Marjolaine met her eyes for a moment, took her meaning, and then looked back at the floor.
And I will dust the whole shop.
Good girl.
Odette patted the girl's head, set the pastries on the counter, and moved to retreat to her garden on the floor above.
We have jam in the pantry. Remember, the next Sabbath is only a few days away, so study. If you have to do it while you eat, make sure your fingers are clean. I do not want dirty little witchling fingers making the pages all sticky.
Yes, madam.
I have work to do in the garden, but yell if you need anything. Should we get any orders, I would like to know.
Yes, madam.
Odette watched Marge set one of her books on the counter, and she lingered just for a moment to watch her student gingerly turn a page, much further along than she had expected. With that, she let herself smile before disappearing upstairs. Marjolaine was nearing the end of a primer on herbs. It had been interesting enough for her not to fall asleep outright. She had learned that the benefits of the chamomile and lavender sage which hung from the rafters extended beyond their wonderful smell. They had a deep connection to the season. With the turning of leaves just around the corner, they would need rosemary to replace them. Rosemary and... what was it? She was forgetting something, and it was the obvious kind of something. The kind that makes one smack on their own forehead once they realize. Ah, the jam. Of course, how silly. Croissants were good on their own, but they needed jam to really send them to that scrumptious peak of which the witchling so longered. Longer. She skipped over to the kitchen and tossed open the cupboard. Blackberry. Certainly not the finest of toppings, but it would do. Marjolaine returned to the counter, small jar in hand. However, her croissants had now cooled just beyond perfection. So she was left with a tepid breakfast. It didn't even crackle in just the right way, and subpar preservatives. Not ideal by any definition, but oh well. She turned back to her book, making sure to wipe any leftovers on a kerchief she grabbed on her way back out of the kitchen. Is that like a handkerchief?
Yeah.
Kerchief.
Kerchief. I'm learning words. The bell sounded. Oh, she was so involved in her study that she'd not seen anyone outside the shop on the street. It was an old man, with brows so bushy they obscured his eyes, and a cloak that highlighted his broad yet droopy shoulders.
Welcome to the Broomstick Express. Maybe deliver something for you?
You're up, Hoa.
Ah, yes. I've been here before.
Sir?
I would like something delivered. It's to a woman. I've got her picture if you need it. She's a bit older now.
I'm sure we can manage. May I keep this until the job is complete? I'll take good care of it.
Marjolaine halted for a moment. She was to inform Odette of when something needed delivery, but maybe she was busy. Surely her teacher would not suffer any distraction from her work. Surely she would be proud that Marjolaine could handle the shop when she was otherwise occupied, wouldn't she? Yes, this would make up for her earlier lack of diligence. She would be a dependable witch, one everyone could rely on.
Marjolaine?
That was Odette, who called down as she descended the stairwell. There went the plan.
Marjolaine, would you remember to clean the windows? You forgot last time. Ah! A customer.
She greeted the old man without fully seeing him. However, when she moved around the counter and got a good look at him, her face changed from welcoming to something else.
Ah, you. No, you cannot pay.
But
No. No buts. Out of my shop. Good day. Shoo shoo.
She nudged the old man out the front door. Marge could see his shoulders drop as he exited. Her heart sank a bit in response.
Why'd you do that?
He has been here many times before. He asks us to deliver something, but he cannot pay the full fee.
Shouldn't we help people who need it?
When I have given something for nothing once, it is kindness. When it is expected of me every time, it is enslavement. Finish your breakfast, it will get cold.
Ooh, a letter. I like these.
Oh no, this is like the box. The big old text box. Novel mode.
Marjolaine had covered her mouth with a kerchief, mounting a broom in order to dust up at the very, very top of a bookshelf. Why would Madame Odette just turn something away like that, she wondered, especially when business was so scarce these days. It was those blasted airplanes and the airships, the newest technological marvel that had taken everyone's fancy and refused to let go. There was no place for a witch courier when you could have a dashing fellow in a flying machine deliver your precious things. How romantic was that? Admittedly, it was romantic, and indeed the witchling pondered becoming one of those that fly the ships. It had to be complicated. All things to do while flying were complicated. Broomsticks, not complicated, but she had been flying all her life. Ah, but what was this? Letters atop the bookshelf. That won't do. Marjolaine thumbed through them. Large, imposing fonts covered their envelopes. Words like past due and final notice. Such words in such letters were ice in her gut. They would surely lose the shop. What would Madame Odette do without it? She replaced the letters and blew some of the dust around to hide that she'd been up there and descended, replacing that broomstick to its place on the wall. They needed money. To get money, they needed jobs. To get jobs, they needed people to visit the shop. There was the old man, of course. Madame Odette had been adamant to refuse him, though. For what, though? He could not pay enough. Surely, if they were on their last legs, any amount would do. Then the solution was simple. She would find the old man and take on that job. With any luck, other jobs would come by that way. She had seen him exit, and leave left, so perhaps if she was quick she could catch up to him. But now arose the question of what to tell Madame Odette. How would Marjolaine excuse her sudden departure? She wouldn't. She would simply take her bag, her broom, and leave. No point risking bad karma over a good deed, after all. And that's exactly what she did, and she grabbed her hat, her broom, and her delivery bag, took care not to trip the doorbell, and slipped out unnoticed. Madame Odette would be so proud of her for making them some money. The witchling mounted her broom with a bounce and took off, taking care to fly head above. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so tired.
All right.
The witchling mounted her broom with a bounce and took off, taking care to fly above head height, so she could move quickly without running into anyone. She caught a few incredulous glances, the kind you would see from seeing an elephant march down the street. It was to be expected. The odd witch was an unusual, maybe even unfashionable sight these days. She found the old man sitting outside a cafe. He smiled softly upon seeing her land in front of him.
Mister!
Monsieur.
Ah, it's been so long since I've seen a courier witch. Hello, I was about to enjoy a light lunch. Care to join me?
First, I must apologize for my madam's behavior. It was uncouth and unbelievably rude of her to reject your job offer without hearing it out.
Oh? Well, you certainly know how to apologize, don't you? Come, join me for lunch. Hear the words of an old man, and I will call this a debt paid.
The waiter brought her a small bowl of pear wedges and a plate of boiled egg slices on rye. The chives, she thought, added a nice flavor, though the pears were a bit underripe. She put them off for last. The old man himself only had a cup of coffee. Old man.
Old man Hoa.
This was my favorite cafe back in the day. I knew the owner when we were just schoolboys.
Ah, I can pay for my portion.
No need, no need. I've earned a free meal or two here. Now, what was this about a job offer? Marjolaine cocked an eyebrow at him. Must be for the forgetful sort of an old person. But he got lunch for her, so he couldn't be all bad.
You came by the Broomstick Express asking to deliver something.
Yes. I would very much like something delivered to a young girl. Woman now, I suppose. She. He spaced out as if in deep memory. I was not always allowed there for her when I should have been. He watched people flutter to and about the street. When he finally spoke, it seemed as if it was to no one in particular. My whole life was spent putting on more than I was capable of. And even in those moments, when I was drowning in my responsibilities, I never once thought myself incapable of making everyone happy. I only ever wanted to be a dependable person, you know? I never turned down the chance to help anyone either, even when it inconvenienced me, even if it meant missing something far more important. And I guess somehow, it became more important to me to be dependable than to take care of the ones I loved. The old man once more took out an old picture of the young girl and looked upon it, again falling into a memorial trance. Hoa, do you want to take over for me? Or is he gone? I don't want to lose my voice.
Not sure what happened to Hoa, but I'll take up the task.
Yeah, sorry.
If you can, if anyone wants to,
Maybe there's Hoa.
goodness.
Yeah, it's just like really late. I don't want to keep my grandma up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take over for you then.
Yeah, sorry.
I ended up neglecting her when I needn't have done so.
He took a deep breath and set the picture down, fishing around in his coat for something else.
And now, well, this is all I have left.
He produced a ring box wrapped in a little green bow.
This is what you want delivered, sir?
Indeed. It is the only thing I can give her, and it is far less than she deserves for all the neglect. This is my heart. See to it she receives it safely.
Marjolaine stared at the box.
Your heart, sir?
But the old man had gone, leaving behind only the box, the picture, and the cup of coffee. Oh, he'll want that picture back. How could he have wandered off without something so important? The elderly were so helpless. But where to find the girl? Surely, if she were a woman now, this picture would not be much help. Nevertheless, she placed the box in her bag. The picture, well, she could go to the police and ask about her. But what was this on the back? Writing. It was a street name, followed by an apartment number. A perfect place to start. Once the waiter came around again, she asked him if she knew the location of the street, thanked him, and took off. Walking was such a slow, meandering. Thank you. Walking was such a slow meandering. You could only get to a place after a great deal of effort, and you might even tire out before you get there at all. And so much was obscured on the ground. So many buildings, and all of them so tall. It's a wonder she could navigate it all. Flight was different. You could go anywhere you wanted, and all you had to do was turn your head. It was the wind whistling past your ears, a soothing chill on a hot day, a bath after working in the garden for a few hours. The crowds, the noises, the quibbling, the stenches of the city all flew away beneath your feet, and troubles became nothing before the embrace of the sky. That's a nice line of dialogue there, or narration. Well, not anymore. The crowds of people became the crowds of airplanes rudely rushing past, of airships milling about like great cows. The noises became engine propellers, chopping her precious winds and forming them into turbulent airstreams, making navigation so much more difficult than simply dodging the old belligerent pilot. and what once was clear, brisk air now held the faint but unmistakable scent of diesel in it. Still, she thought, look at these planes and fail to be awed. That's a huge metal thing that could fly and be so much heavier than a bird, and so varied were their shapes. A bird was generally the same across all species: a head, a body, 2 wings, and a tail. A plane could have 2 bodies, 2 tails, 4 wings. It was an exercise of the imagination. Some had a grace about them, others were ugly. Some were wood and canvas, and many more were now metals of colors and shapes equal to their pilots' personalities. Perhaps that was why witches had faded from this world. Marjolaine knew more than anyone that magic was difficult. It took years of training to appreciable result, and even those results were subtle, such as they might not have existed at all. But these aeroplanes, the results were immediate. She remembered the difficulty of her early days of flight, how difficult it had been even to get her broom to hover. That had taken months, but felt like years. Now it was no trouble, a thoughtless action akin to breathing. But not everyone held that patience, nor the magical aptitude. A man with neither of these things could simply purchase an airplane, granting him the ability to soar about the birds. Soar about like the birds. He could travel the country, as did witches of old. He needed only a craft and the knowledge to fly it. It was like cheating, but then she wondered, if she had known to fly one of these craft, would she ever have been a witch? Was it cheating to use the knowledge of those before you? Was it not easier to be among those that dared fly a thing so much heavier than air? They always seemed so blessed about the whole thing, as if flying those metal beasts was a feat equitable to walking. Could the craft not fall apart around them? Could there be some sort of mechanical failure? Might the wings simply fall off due to improper maintenance? A broomstick offered no concerns as that. It was simply a handle and some straw at the end. Airplanes were immensely complicated things. A problem could compound itself, leading to the death of the pilot as a result of minuscule issue. So why did she feel such an attraction to them? Was it simply the danger of catastrophe? Or was it the perseverance in spite of the danger? Perhaps that was it, she thought. It was a triumph over limitation. Look at them now, lumbering airships, peppy little single-person pusher props, great cargo crafts. These people now ruled the skies as witches once had. And here she was on her broomstick, cheering them on. How silly she was. An odd feeling took her, as if she were a sailboat among warships. All of a sudden, she was acutely aware of herself, and how ridiculous she looked sailing among those marvels. So she dipped low, just above the buildings. Best not to chance collision with one of those aircraft, she told herself. The street held no apartments by the name. Someone gonna say something? The street held no apartments by the name on the photograph, and its supposed place was instead a factory. She dismounted and asked a group of workers standing in front. Good lord.
Excuse me, I am a courier attempting to deliver a package to an apartment that used to be here.
Ah, they burned down years ago. I think that place relocated 2 streets over. You'll see it. It's got green doors.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we decided not to kill our sprite artist.
And she was off again, soon finding apartments with the green doors. Which begged the question, did the woman even live here anymore? Perhaps it would be best to simply knock on the doors and ask around. That poor guy. With a face like that, I doubt he gets much company. She approached the door closest to her and knocked. A rather fancy-looking middle-aged woman answered. Who wants to be this middle-aged woman? I guess I can do it. Finally, I've been waiting a whole hour for the delivery. The woman extended her hand expectantly. Well, let's have it. Julian needs his medication before 3 o'clock or he'll get gassy.
Medicine, ma'am?
Stupid girl. From the alchemist. You're the courier, right? Where's Julian's medicine?
I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding.
Well, if you're not from the alchemist, what use are you?
Wait, ma'am. I would be happy to go and retrieve your medicine promptly, but I will need payment.
But of course, I'm no savage. Payment will be issued on the delivery. Here's the address. Now go and get it. I've waited 1 hour, I shall not wait another. Marjolaine arrived at the address. It was no larger than Odette's shop, and in spite of the unfamiliar surroundings, she felt a kinship with the employees working there. She found the alchemist fussing over his display at the front of the building. He spoke without turning.
Little miss, I'm afraid I cannot take walk-ins today.
Pardon me. I'm from the Broomstick Express on a job for... I didn't get her name. I'm to retrieve the medicine for one Julian.
Ugh. Insufferable woman, she sent the last courier away.
He turned, finally removing his glasses to clean them.
A witch courier, eh? How quaint. I have a proposition for you. My deliveries are late getting here, and I've just sent another service to go and fetch them. But you witches are fast on your broomsticks, no? If you go and retrieve my medicines before he does, I'll pay you what I promised him. But only if you complete the delivery before the other courier arrives. If he gets back first, you get nothing. Understand?
I will take the job.
Acceptable. Here's the address, and the requests, and the credentials you'll need. Hurry on, then.
The alchemist turned to return inside, but Marjolaine was already halfway down the block. She knew exactly where the shop was. It was across town, and she was not nearly as fast as a plane, but surely she could get there faster than the time it took them to land and take a car. She could make it, but she took off immediately to be certain. It was a large building, visible from the air, and as soon as she saw it, she banked, shot towards the ground, landed into a run, and entered through the open front door. Oh my.
Yep.
The concierge raised his eyebrows, staring at the painting girl who had just run into the shop. Panting girl.
Yes?
The Broomstick Express. About a delivery for this person.
She slapped the credentials on the counter. This guy is all legs.
I love him.
A witch courier? Unusual. Is Jean sick today? I thought he was running late.
Sir, I am on a deadline.
Pardon me. Catch your breath while I go and get those for you.
He wandered into the back, allowing Marjolaine a moment's reprieve. And before she could get too comfortable, she was back.
Penicillin, as the doctor requests. Here's the bill as well.
I'll see that he gets it.
Marjolaine placed the medicines in her bag.
Thank you.
And she was gone again into the sky. She sailed alongside a pair of planes whose pilots waved to her before speeding off. They weren't all bad, these aeroplanes. Marjolaine landed in front of the pharmacy and charged inside, placing her bag on the counter.
Delivery! Penicillin for you.
The alchemist looked at his watch, checked the chemicals, looked at the little witch, and back to his watch.
Goodness, that can't have been more than 10 minutes. Let me get you that payment. The Broomstick Express, did you said?
Yes.
I'll keep that in mind. Don't forget Julian's medicines.
She thanked the man and set off for the apartments. was turning out to be a good day. She just got paid quite well. In fact, she was about to complete another job. Perhaps the woman would be grateful enough to help her locate the girl in the picture. And if she couldn't, well, at least it was another payment. She was well on her way to saving Odette's shop. She would be so proud of Marjolaine for doing all of this.
Delivery! Medicines for Julian.
She shouted, knocking on the door to the woman's apartment. The woman answered, and a large dog forced its way just outside between the two. What was that?
That's a typo right there.
The woman answered. Oh,
Yeah, there's supposed to be a D.
the woman answered. Did I actually read that?
You did.
Well, okay. Well, it's about time. She reached down and played with the dog's floppy ears, babbling. See, Julien? The courier girl has your medicine so we can get you all better. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. I love the dog.
Dog's got voice acting. Most important character right there.
His sprite looks so good. The dog yipped and wagged its tail, and for the briefest of seconds, the old woman's eyes held a spark at Julien's excitement. As if this was the first time in a while it spoke in such a way. The pair looked so much younger. Then those briefest of seconds ended, and her smile faded. She turned to Marge with a scowl. Your payment. She offered a stingy few bills.
If I could trouble you with a question.
No, you may not. You have your payment. Now leave us. The woman herded the now less than enthused creature inside and slammed the door in Marge's face. The witchling, in turn, screamed through her own teeth and clenched her fists, stamping a foot in sheer frustration. Ooh, she mad, bro. How rude, she thought. Perhaps a hex to sully her day. She thought better of it. Madame Odette always said, what is visited on another shall be visited on yourself thrice. That is the law of return. Be it good or bad. And she needed good, and she certainly needed 3 times the good if she wanted to save the shop. But a woman like that would almost make anyone do it anyway. Perhaps something small, like a mirror to break at the slight of her visage. No, she was not worth the trouble. Almost, though. Marge chose the adjacent apartment and knocked. No answer. She tried again, but they must have been out. So she moved down the line. The next door was the same, out, or not answering. And it was like this 2 more times. Marjolaine finally got an answer all the way to the end of the block. Another old man.
Hello. Can I help you with something? Oh, a witch courier. It's been a long time since I've seen one of those. Are there many of you left? Do you have a delivery for me?
Sorry, I do not.
Well, what can I help you with, little witch?
I'm looking for the girl in this photograph. It's old though, so she'll be fully grown.
She handed him the photo. He squinted at it, held it further from his face, close enough that his nose touched, then back again, grunting all the while in concentration.
Yes. Yes, I saw a girl like this yesterday. Or last week. 3 days ago? Come to think of it, I haven't seen my dog in about 3 days either. Haven't seen my wife either. Ha!
I apologize, but I must find her soon.
Oh, right. Children are always in a hurry. Which is good. Save the waiting for when you're old like me. Now, where was this girl? It was a coffee joint, I believe. Yes, it was definitely a cafe. It was the talk of the town, that one. But that was a long time ago. I remember when my wife and I used to go there. went in and got little tarts with our espresso. You have to get something sweet to balance out that bitterness. But what do you children know of bitterness? Hopefully nothing. And I hope you never shall.
Sir, the girl?
The girl? Ah, yes, the girl. She was a waitress there. Made a decent coffee. Not good, not bad either. Cheap though, which is good. You get what you pay for, right? You buy cheap, you're gonna get cheap. And you should always get cheap things. Best to be sure to splurge on occasion. That's the key to saving your money.
Please, where was this cafe, kind sir?
Ah, the cafe. It was down, what street was that? My wife and I used to go there all the time before she... Somewhere on the other end of town? I was with my son that day, you know.
His response degraded into mumbles and hand movements that apparently meant something. Marge briefly wondered if there was some kind of tea she could brew to make this conversation go faster, or at least help his memory along to her entire point in being here. Unfortunately, he was her best lead for now. For however long that would be. Which was beginning to shaping up to be forever.
Right. So, you're going to take the 3 o'clock tram to Rue de l'Église, and then there's another tram at about 4:15. Around now, I'd say about, because it's about the most unreliable tram I've ever had the misfortune of riding.
But, sir, I have a broom.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you witches ride brooms everywhere, that's right. Well, it's by a place du Moulin across the street from a statue. Don't remember who it's a statue of, though.
Thank you, sir. I must go.
No, you take care, little witch. And if you see my wife anywhere, tell her I'll be by shortly. She probably has the dog with her.
Oh, sorry. Missed one. She was off before she could continue the conversation. Old people, she thought, cute sometimes, but they are in no hurry, are they? I like that little interaction. That old man. He has good language, good words, good script. There were at least 5 streets named Rue des Anglais, but only 3 of them had a statue, and one of them was close by. Given the old man had said it was on the other end of town, that meant only 2 streets she needed to check. On a hunch, she went to the closer of the 2. It was high noon. The air traffic had lulled a bit, and she took the opportunity to enjoy herself in the view. The city from the air was her most treasured sight. She could, if she looked hard enough, see the crowds scurry along the winding streets like ants in a line. She could follow the endless housing and twisting to which they broke against the waters of the Mediterranean. She could, if she so wished, fly to the beaches and walk barefoot along the warm sands, a small break from the day. Perhaps grab a sweet or 2, sit on a jelly, and space out looking over the infinite horizon. Marge sighed. If only there were more time to enjoy these things. If only business were better. But if business were better, then would she not be just as busy? Either the shop is at risk of closing, and she must struggle to scrounge together the funds, or the shop does well, and she has to work all the time. The latter had to be the better scenario. Better to be busy but well off than struggling to survive. Yes, she had been paid well today, and possibly earned a doctor's business. Doctors made good money, and perhaps she had already saved the shop. He would tell all his doctor friends, and then they would have more money than they needed. Perhaps Madame Odette could take on more apprentices. But then she wondered what would happen to me. She halted midair, as if the shop were to do well. If the shop were to do well and Madame Odette were to hire more witches, it would no longer be just the two of them. Would she play favorites? Certainly she would have less time for Marjolaine in any event. The fact made her stomach hop around a bit. She knew it would have to happen sometime. There would come a day when she parted ways with her mentor. She would find her own way. She hoped it was a long way off, but that day would have to come. But never mind that. There was the street, and a cafe as well. And frankly, there was a cafe every other street, so this could very well be the wrong one. Still, she landed. Coffee hit her nose. These old cafes were soaked in it. Not surprising the smell would waft to the outdoor seatings. It was a nice smell, but the taste itself was lacking. Madame Odette preferred tea, as did Marjolaine, but also preferred the smell of coffee to that of tea. It was just a unique smell. There was something about it. She did not know what. Waiters wiped tables, indoors and out, in absence of any other work. There was only one customer in the shop, sitting at a table by the window reading a newspaper. She thought better of asking him about the girl. Instead, she found the most important-looking fellow there, the one wearing a vest.
Something you need?
Yes, I am looking for the girl in this picture. I was told she might be working here.
And why do you need to know?
I have a delivery for her. A package from an older gentleman.
A courier? A witch courier? How old-fashioned. Perhaps I know something of this girl. She does indeed work here.
Oh, good. Is she here today?
Marge beamed. The delivery was coming to an end.
No.
Well, would you please give me her address so I can deliver the item to her?
No. You may leave it here, and I will see to it that she gets it when she is in.
Sir, my apologies. I was asked to deliver this especially. I must see personally that the woman gets this item. It is special.
I am sure it is. However, I will not give you her address.
Perhaps this was one of those situations in which a bribe would help. But all the money she had accrued tried to go to her shop. Today, of all days, was not the day to waste funds on bureaucracy.
Again, my apologies, but I do not have much to offer.
We might come to an arrangement.
He pointed at one of his employees.
That simpleton broke 2 of my portafilters, and I will be firing him at the end of his shift. Until then, our machine is down. I have the parts on order, and the delivery is supposed to be on its way, but it's been hours, and I'm feeling a little impatient today. Go to the shop, get the part for me, and return. I shall give you her address if, and only if, you get the part from me before the other delivery man arrives.
Understood.
She got the parts shop address and raced out of the cafe. She beat one courier today, and she would beat another. It would be easy. The parts shop was not even that far away, and she was in the door in 2 minutes flat asking the front desk for the filters. Oh, this is the best one.
Oh, was there a mistake with the delivery? We already gave those to the other courier.
Which one?
Marge's heart sank as she was asked. She knew she was too late.
Church Street Deliveries. It's one of those covered motor cars, has the logo on the side. Can't miss it. Shall I call the customer? Have we made a mistake?
No, there's no mistake. Thank you for your time.
No, this was her best lead. She launched down the street, dodging a couple of cars before realizing she could pull up for a better view. Not here, not the next street. Blast, where was the car? There, 2 streets from the cafe, a van with a canvas-colored truck bed. Marge caught up to the van, pulled up to the back, seized one of the flaps and let it go, and broke off. This was wrong. What was her plan? To steal the filters? Was she a thief now? goodness, was it worth the karma? Marge returned to the cafe just behind the van. She had been beaten. Let the price of arrogance be defeat. She waited until the delivery man left the cafe before approaching. Perhaps the manager would take pity on her. Well, that sucks.
Ah, the witch is back. The courier has already delivered my filters. I don't require your services, so you may leave.
But sir, I must
We
ask
had
you.
a deal. You were slow, and you get nothing. Good day.
Why are you so cruel?
I will call the constables if you do not leave my shop, girl.
Her throat got warm and she bit back the tears. How could this wretched man be so callous?
You horrible slug!
Ah, never mind, that's the best one. She screamed. The customer with the newspaper looked at her with interest.
How could you be so heartless that you would refuse to answer a simple question? I cannot complete this delivery without your help, and you use me for a game of yours?
Calmly, he walked to a woman inside, seated behind the counter.
Marguerite, get the constables on the line.
May all your coffee be weak!
Marjolaine cursed. A proper, crude curse from the bottom of her heart. She meant it, and it would be thrice punished.
Do not bother calling the constables. I'm leaving now, and I'll never return to this shack.
At the fence line, she turned and spat on the walkway outside the cafe. She turned once more, adding,
And may your pastries look pedestrian.
Marge stormed across the streets and into an alcove hidden from sight, choking back tears and shivering in spite of the late afternoon heat. What an absolute waste of time. She gained nothing from that exchange. She remembered the curse she uttered, and the dread of what she'd done took hold. How would she be punished for this one? Had she doomed Odette's shop? That must be it. She cursed the shop, and in turn her shop would be cursed. Odette would lose her home, and it was all Marge's fault. She collapsed onto a stoop, holding her head in her hands. People walked in front of her, never once turning an eye to where she wept. Odette would lose the shop, and it was all her fault. Odette would lose the shop. It was her fault. It was all her fault. She shouldn't have done that. She should never have cursed the cafe. She wished she could take it back.
Miss?
A hand touched her shoulder. She slapped it away.
Miss?
The voice said again.
I'm sorry, but please get a hold of yourself.
Marge took a deep, shaky breath and looked up. It was the employee from earlier, the one the awful man had called a simpleton.
Your boss is horrible.
Yes, he just fired me. May he rot in some foreign prison. For all the good my curses do, anyway.
He smirked.
And you're one of those witches that deliver things, yes?
I am.
So you witches really do curse people?
I didn't mean it. I mean, I did, but I regret it.
I would not. He will be the only one weeping when his business goes under. It was once the greatest cafe in the city. Now it's a coffee shop with weak coffee. Excellent decision. Poetic justice.
Justice though it may be, I should not have cursed him. It will come back to me and inflict 3 times the pain.
The employee lit a cigarette and took a deep drag before speaking.
If it makes you feel any better, that man does not feel. And if I know any math, it's that 3 times nothing is still nothing. You will come out of this unscathed, little witch. And you have earned my appreciation for all that's worth.
The two remained silent. The man finished his cigarette and flicked the remains into the street.
Why did you need his help, anyway?
I have a delivery for the girl in this picture, and he says she works for him. He promised to give me her address in exchange for getting his machine parts.
I see. So, if I were to write Coraline's address here on the back of this photograph, it would make this all better?
Coraline is her name?
Yes. She's walking distance from here, actually. But I will request one thing in exchange for the address.
Yes?
Marjolaine was apprehensive, not wanting further distractions from her main goal.
I've never seen a witch fly on a broom.
She smiled, rubbed her face with her arm, and mounted the broom. She shot straight up, up into the evening sky, did a wide loop for him, being careful to look for any planes, and she flew back down, hopping off the broomstick and into a little curtsy. He clapped and handed her the photo.
Thank you, sir.
She shook his hand, almost shook his arm out of his shoulder, and took off down the street. She skipped over to the townhome, number 6, number 7, number 8. Charming little buildings, built up rather than out. She could see herself living in one of these one day, with a planter hanging from each window, maybe from the fencing as well. Marjolaine adjusted her hat. She smoothed her overcoat and made sure the buckles on her bag were loose, for a little flair when producing the delivered item. She brushed aside her hair sitting beneath her hat so no strands obscured her eyes. She would be the picturesque witch courier. And this picturesque witch courier, feeling her appearance efficient, used the knocker 3 times. A young woman answered.
Yes.
This was her. The girl in the photograph. The quest was over,
A delivery for you, miss.
said Marge, beaming. Smoothly, she reached into her bag and drew the little ring box.
It was difficult to find you, I
Is
must
that
say.
from the old man?
Yes?
I don't want it.
Pardon?
I don't want anything he has to offer me. I don't want whatever is in the little box.
But, miss, I've been searching
Throw
all
it in the
day.
garbage. Give it to a dog. Toss it down the sewer for all I care. It is an empty thing that means nothing. He can offer me nothing. He gave me nothing growing up, and he'll give me nothing now that I am grown. I will not accept whatever blasted thing he has tricked you into delivering.
Miss, I must insist you take this.
No.
He told me it was his
He
heart.
has no heart. He thinks some useless trinket will give me back my childhood? Does he think a piece of jewelry or whatever he can undo? Or whatever can undo years spent ignoring his daughter?
Tears came to the young woman's eyes.
Throw it down the nearest sewer, where we'll rot with the rest of him.
She slammed the door, leaving Marjolaine alone on the stoop. The sun transversed a fraction of the evening sky before Marge could act. When she did, she simply stuffed the ring box back into her bag. She staggered down the steps. She straddled her broom. She took off for the sea. Faster, faster, faster she went, fast enough for the wind to rip the tears from her eyes, to punch the sobbing from her lungs. She held a white-knuckled grip on her broomstick, the whole way over the houses, the beaches, and over the ocean. A terminal waste of a day. How could everyone be so indifferent to her struggles? Had she not worked so hard to make all of them happy? And what had this struggle yielded? Doors have been slammed in her face. A woman cried angrily at her. A man used her rather than answer a simple question. Another woman had been so unfeeling that she may as well have slapped her. And she nearly stole, and she cursed a man, and she wasted an entire day trying to fulfill a poor old man's request. What a complete waste this was, too. She could have taken on additional deliveries. Instead, she had allowed herself to become infatuated with the romance of helping an old man reconcile with his daughter. Look at what a waste this was, Marjolaine. Look at what you'll get for blindly helping others, used and cast aside without gratitude. Such will ever be your path, to be a tool and discarded, equal in usefulness to a days-old newspaper. It was that moment she fled through a flock of some passing seagulls. She slammed into 2 or 3, who squawked and scratched at her in anger, and when she spit from a formation, she took the ring out of the box. When she split from the formation, she took out the ring box. This was her fault. He had suckered her into taking this stupid job. What kind of man would ignore his family? How could anyone work so hard that they'd forget about their daughter? What a disgusting old man. Who did he work so hard for? Himself? She squeezed the ring box in her hand. How dare he? She just wanted to help, and as consequence, she stole, she cursed. She was on the path becoming a black witch because of him. How dare he? Marjolaine hurled the ring box down so hard she nearly lost her grip on her broom. She watched it rotate as it fell down, 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 until it made a small splash and disappeared beneath the waves. You idiot, Marge, she thought. You are the only one to blame here. You accepted the request. You helped the mean old woman. You allowed yourself to be tricked by the cafe owner. You thought to steal to fulfill his request. And Coraline, how was her anger your fault? Finally, she unclenched her jaw, and as she saw the ring box melt into the sea, she jumped off her broom and plummeted in after it. Odette's words came to her mind. If you're angry, it's because you have allowed it. She was beneath the waves, where the waters began to darken. Plenty of breath. She looked around, and up, and down, and to each side. If you were tricked, it's because you were not yet wise. The box would be black against deep blue waters. She thought briefly to give up. It would be easy. Weakness is ignorance of strength. Panic is ignorance of calm. Bliss is acceptance that all that cannot be changed by your hand cannot be changed. Calm is the gift of bliss. Strength is the gift of calm. Her heart throbbed in her chest, in her ears. She ignored the pounding, but the wiggling sounds of the water, the burning in her throat, the emptiness in her lungs. She concentrated. She strained her eyes for that little black cube against the deep, dark blue. If you are blissful, Marjolaine, you possess strength. Others might panic. It is, of course, a natural reaction. You are expected to panic, but magic can do the unexpected. She strained her eyes harder. She calmed herself. Her lungs threatened to allow the water. She needed air, but more so, she needed time. Concentrate. One hears the goodness everywhere, so one eventually tunes out her voice if one is not careful. She always speaks. You need only to listen to her words to channel her power. Something emanated from her, and the water became bright. So bright, she squinted even more in response. There was the box. She swam towards it, lungs like blazing coals in her chest. Again, the pain, she swam, against the currents and the lack of air, against all reason she swam for that little black box. Got it. No air left. How deep was she? Who cares? Up, 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 up. Light danced against her face. The pressure had become light. It was there. The surface was right there. Her arms could move no more, so she pushed with her legs, and then, she surfaced, however briefly. She gasped. Lungs shrieked against the influx as she dipped back below a wave, and back over in time for another gasp, only this time it was full of seawater, which had her choking. Back underwater. She needed to get over the waves, but they were too tall. She needed her broom. She needed her hand above the water, but the water rose to drown her each time. She got one half of one part of a much-needed breath before the water moved to cover her. Again, up again, and again, and again. And she had it in her hand. She pulled herself onto her broom without any known strength of her own. Many minutes passed, thoughtless minutes, spent breathing and shaking over the water. The sun set and she did not move. At some point, the night rolled in. She regained her senses over the open, dark ocean. When had that happened? Goodness, she nearly drowned. Best not tell Madame Odette. She needed to get back to the shop. It was night, and clearly she would be worried, and certainly Marge would have to actually dust the whole shop tomorrow. But never mind that. The lights of the Côte d'Hire were visible in the distance, and she took off after them. The city held its own beauty. The lights below may not be a reflection of the stars above. Streets so familiar that day, time proved much more difficult to navigate. Landmarks became shadow, and the streets were black rivers flanked by the glow of fireflies. I'm so sorry for butchering the narration.
Don't worry about it.
It's all good.
Such beautiful scenes, such excellent writing. It's very good.
Well, we're almost at the end here.
Difficult as it was to follow, she found the Broomstick Express, tens of minutes later, distinctly bright against the other closed shops on the streets. She hopped off her broom and hoped to sneak in, but Odette sat at the counter.
Marjolaine!
She whipped from behind the counter and stood tall before Marge, scowling more than she had ever seen.
Do you have any idea how long I've waited for you? I even called the constables to look for you. Where have you been?
I am sorry, Madame Odette.
Her throat locked up. Tears came to her eyes, but she powered through them.
I was out doing deliveries all day.
Marge turned out her purse for the day, a good number of coins, and a check addressed to the shop. It felt such a small amount now that she had lost a lot. Now that she saw the lot, but she had worked so hard for it. Odette relaxed her shoulders, but only a little.
I'm impressed, girl, but why did you leave without telling me? All day I've been sick with worry.
I saw the bills.
Marjolaine could barely choke out the words.
The ones on the top of the bookcase. I thought we would lose the shop. So I left to help the old man, and I took other jobs along the way.
Odette's arms hung loosely at her sides.
I helped a horrible old woman, but she paid well, and a doctor too. I tried to help a cafe owner as well, but he tricked me and I cursed his shop.
Odette stood there, unable to meet her student's eyes.
I did not want to ask for your help.
Why, Madame Odette? I would never not help you.
I know. And you have, you sweet, silly girl. You have helped more than you can ever know. I did not ask because I thought it was my job as the adult to take care of a child. And an adult cannot lean on a child for help. They just can't. And this is my feeling. You are so much more dependable than I ever thought. And I suppose I did not want to believe I could lean on you for anything, because I have never leaned on anyone for anything. Marjolaine.
She fell forward and embraced her student.
I am so proud of you. You are a fine witch.
But, Madam, I cursed someone today.
We all make mistakes, witchling. And I can see by your worry and your wet clothes that you have paid the price threefold already.
But we might lose the shop.
We will not lose the shop. I will see to it. And the money you gather today will help.
She hoisted her bag off her shoulder and onto the counter, taking out a billfold full of money.
But do not think your teacher has not been busy all day. The elderly always need their remedies and poultices. I've made a fair amount myself. This, combined with your earnings today, should cover our past due expenses. Come now.
She patted Marge's head gingerly.
I've made a stew. We'll talk about where you've been all day.
The smell hit her first. It warmed Marjolaine to her core. Ocean water that had soaked her to her very bones was driven out by the smell of that stew. Her shoulders slumped and the exertion of the day finally slammed into her, so she flopped into a chair and sighed.
That was the sigh of someone much older than you, girl. What happened?
Marge wrung her hands beneath the table. Would Madame Odette be angry with her? She had specifically turned the old man away, but she helped him anyway.
Marjolaine. No stew until I've heard a story.
I helped the old man.
Which one?
The one who came by. He said he couldn't pay.
That was no man, child. Did you not notice?
Madame Odette?
Odette stood there with a couple of bowls, quizzing her student with a look, urging her on. Nothing.
You really did not notice he was a ghost? Marjolaine, I know you've been studying. You should know this.
Not ghosts.
Why not ghosts?
They're scary.
They are benign spirits trapped in this world because of a task yet completed. Ghost stories are nonsense, child. You know this?
Odette set the bowl before her student, and rather than sitting, she chose to lecture Marge in between bites.
They do not retain memories beyond their old life. Surely you must have noticed this when you went after him.
She thought back to the cafe. She did think it was odd she mentioned that it had been a long time since she'd seen a courier witch, even though they had met not 20 minutes before. But Marge had assumed he was old, forgetful, a bit senile maybe.
He returns every few years, asking me to deliver his heart. I made that mistake once, long ago. I will never make it again.
Marge played with her stew, not really focusing on anything, instead mulling over the events of the delivery.
I worked so hard to find that girl, Madame Odette, but she did not want his heart.
She choked down a tear.
He said he worked so hard for her. He just wanted to be a good person.
Child, some people are not grateful for such a thing. He worked all his life for his ideal of being a good person, and in doing so, he ignored the ones he loved. He was so generous with his time and gave it so freely to others that he did not have enough left for those that truly mattered. Time is the most important thing to us as humans. We have so very little of it, we must parcel it out with care. Choosing how to spend your time is the most important aspect of love, I think.
Odette stopped pacing around the room. She took a seat and stirred her bowl.
And even then, sometimes your time is not enough. Sometimes people do not want all you have to offer, and nothing you can give them will change how they feel. So you must accept it. You will not always be enough. You cannot make people like you or want you. There will come a time when you must accept that you are not enough and you must move on. That is the reason the old man returns to my shop. He cannot accept this fact. His daughter, Coraline, will forever reject his affection. He will roam this earth until she relents or until it is no longer a matter we must worry about.
In silence, the two ate, staring into their draining bowls until nothing was left. Odette finished first, of course, but Marge was not far behind. She stood to take the dirty dishes. Odette thanked her.
still feel bad for him. I will convince his daughter that he does love her. I will complete this delivery one day, and you will owe me a cake.
Odette smiled at her student.
Decoys. With praline buttercream. And meringue. And ganache. So many words I can't pronounce.
I know, right?
Meringue. I like that.
I like meringue as well.
I'm sorry.
Odette stifled a laugh, blowing air out of her nose at her beaming protege.
Go and make us some tea.
Marge skipped over to the sink, then the burner, then grabbed some dried mint leaves, the perfect flavor for a cup of tea after a hearty dinner. She thought how well a croissant might go with some mint tea, a bit of jam, just a smidgen off the knife. She glanced over at Madame Odette, who was now in deep thought, with her hand on her chin, staring ahead unfocused. Would it be wrong to disturb her? Had she been scolded before about sneaking up on Odette when she was in deep thought? But she remembered her earliest words. Marjolaine approached and gave her a hug. So very briefly, Odette recoiled, then relaxed.
Madame Odette? Your time is valuable to me.
Odette teared up. She took a deep breath and embraced her student.
Go and finish our tea, little witchling.
That's cute. I like that.
I'm so proud.
Yeah, Lambic did a good job.
Very nice. I'm so proud. That was good. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could have had at least one more background for the street stuff.
Maybe a few more sprites, I don't know.
Oh, look, the little thing is moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forge actually animated the PG a little bit.
That's very cool. Are those the planes?
Mm-hmm.
So this is... It's like French steampunk
A little bit.
with witches.
Like 1950s French kind of thing. It's basically the same setting as Kiki's Delivery Service. Nice little oceanside town. You got witches.
What was the inspiration for this? Was it just Kiki's Delivery Service?
It was just Kiki's. Lambic had apparently was a fan of it, and after he proposed the game, I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. And then he said it was based off a movie, and I went, okay, let's go watch the movie. And it turned out really good, so I got super hyped about it.
Let's see if I know any of these people. Oh, Hoa, I know this guy. Wolfborg, is that who I'm thinking it is?
That's the same Wolfborg as in Watercress, yeah.
Okay, cool. Cypher X, is that Cypher that we used to know?
It's a different Cypher.
Okay. Kura.
Cypher that's been a part of UnfinishedCircl for 10 years. He's actually one of the founding members. The rest of these, everybody who's mentioned here are also UnfinishedCircl people.
The love despite membership. What's log? Oh, nothing.
What
Oh, yeah.
was log, actually? Because
Yeah, log is just, it's the backlog for the chat. So if you miss something, you could either scroll back, like you did a couple of times, or you could go to the log.
Okay.
Well, I think, usually when I do one of these kind of read-throughs, I kind of make a lot of commentary as I'm going through. I really didn't do that much with this one. I think because I was just having so much fun with the story that I didn't even, I wasn't thinking about anything. So, well
Yeah, 'cause,
done as far as that goes.
like other games, you usually just stop and you take a moment to kind of appreciate the little imperfections. Aside from like the lack of backgrounds and not all of the characters being completely fully sprited, I think we did a good job polishing everything up, making sure it all kind of met.
Yeah. I mean, as far as polish goes, it's very, very good. I would say it's an A in my book. I took some notes on things that I noticed. The notes that I ended up taking were only two things. So I guess the kind of sprites that were, I guess that's the whole unfinished circle about the thing. That's the unfinished part.
For this case, yeah.
Good. Just staying true to the company name, I suppose. Really, the only thing was that I noticed sometimes when you're reading without the voice, there are times where the dialogue will skip. As like an interruption to the character, but you don't actually get time to read it.
Mm.
So you can't.
Oh
you
yeah,
can't see
when
it.
they get interrupted. I'm pretty sure that was intentional. That's our programmer, Forge. He did all of that, just literally all of it, all those animations.
Okay.
Even
No, it was
even
definitely
took
intentional.
Saji's-
Yeah, it was definitely intentional. I can tell that. It's just that when you don't have the voice acting
Darn.
with it, you can't read what the character was saying. Like it goes so quickly. You don't
Yeah, I
even
was
have
having
the
to
time.
try to like remember the line as I was saying it.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll let them
No,
know.
I personally like it.
Really?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, during the read-through, you both were like, your timings were perfect.
I've played through this a couple times though, so I'm able to like anticipate those.
I mean, I tried. I mean, I so many words that I just don't use. That
No, we
come
couldn't
into it.
tell.
Yes,
I
you
struggled
could.
pretty hard with some of those French words.
Yeah, I tripped over them a little bit, but other than that, in voice acting that would not be a problem. With a proper narrator, that would not be a problem. So, as
Right.
guys who do games like A+, this is awesome. I love it. It's really good.
Thank you.
I think there was one gooey thing I noticed is when you play the game, in this, there are these buttons here along the bottom.
Oh yeah.
They
Oh,
are
yeah.
You just cannot see them on some of these backgrounds. They're so small, and
And I see that now.
the color, you just can't see them. Like on this one, it's better. It works a little better.
We could have probably like added a small
Like a border
backdrop for
to
them, just so that they would have like something to contrast against. But I mean, most of them, you're not gonna really need them. It's like an hour-long game, and it's like quick saves and skips and things like that.
I noticed
Yeah,
it's really not a big deal. It's one of those things that I notice it because I don't know, because I have a big monitor. It's not a big deal, but it is something to note that just it doesn't work on all the backgrounds, especially this one that has the the street view, which is such a nice background, by the way. This is very, very cool. But really, that's it. I mean, that's
Take
just
notes to make sure everybody like sees the feedback.
Can I ask, what would you think if those little buttons along the bottom had been removed entirely?
That's actually something that I've been talking to people about with our games. I've come to decide I don't really like buttons on the screen at all. I think pretty much everything that... So this is basic Ren'Py stuff. This is what you get out of the engine.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm trying to do with the new games that we're putting out is to, instead of having these buttons, we have this thing we're kind of calling the flower menu. And what it does is when
the radio menu?
The radial menu, yeah. And what it does is you right-click on the screen, it opens up options for you that are your game, your menu options. So you have in there is your save, your load, your return. What are the other ones? Main menu. You can open up like a log sheet in there. And then on the screen, the only buttons they look like a transport on an audio window. Like there's a button it's like two little arrows, and it's a go back button. There's a button that is a play, and when you hit the play button, it turns green, and now it's auto playing the game. There's a fast forward. I think there's actually a forward and then a fast forward. So you just have like these little, it just looks like the little audio transport. And that's the only buttons you see on the screen. Everything else is done through a right-click radial menu or a flower menu, as we've been calling it. And that's where all your other options are. And so that's something we've been playing with.
I think we mentioned something about wanting to have a little radial menu like that, but we never got around to it. And then we run out of time.
It's something we've sort of half implemented with A Field of Flowers and Stars, what we're doing with Watercress. It's not completely the way I would like it to be, but it's kind of along that idea, is having fewer buttons on the screen and having more kind of pushing that stuff into the back. But no, what you guys did here is fine. I mean, I know it's standard RenPy stuff, but it's fine. It's good. There's a reason everybody does it like this. And there's nothing here that's really unnecessary either. I would say probably having a save load system for a game so small is probably not completely necessary in this way, you know, having like this, like you probably really only need a way to save and then resume the game so you can like stop and keep playing. But you know, it already came with the game, so you might as well just keep it. It's fine. I want to ask you guys, are there any future plans with this?
With what exactly? Like
a sequel or extension?
A sequel or an extension or more chapters, or even just continuing with this version of the game and kind of going to like refine it. Do you have any future plans for any of this project?
I can answer that. Well, right now the idea sort of is that this is more of a demo. It's something that Lambic, our lead writer, wants to make into like a proper game, like with deliveries and stuff like that. But we figured, okay, we're not at that skill level yet, so let's just make it a visual novel for the time being and see if we can work on it later.
It did
so
seem
half
like
yes, half no.
It seemed like some of it was. So I noticed two kind of tropes, I guess you could call them. Whereas one is the delivery scheme of going from person to person, having to complete a whole series of tasks. That's a pretty common one that I saw here, and it was used very well in this case, I thought, because every instance was brought back. So she kind of moved towards this target, and then she kind of went in reverse, going back to each of the things. And I actually thought it was going to go all the way. I thought that it was mentioned that the woman that we're supposed to deliver the box to, Coraline, it's mentioned that she was a waitress. I thought we were going to end up going all the way back to the cafe and having the waitress that we spoke to at the cafe when we were drinking the coffee with the old man the first time. I thought she was going to be the waitress we had given the money to. That the old man was all like, he was so senile, and that he didn't notice that the waitress of the restaurant that had just served him had been his own daughter. I thought that's where we were going, and so we didn't end up going there, but that was the prediction that I had noted down.
Yeah, I don't think we actually had anything planned like that, but I can see where you're coming from, for sure. There are a lot of little things that kind of connect to each other, just ever so subtly. Like, do you remember the rambling old man?
Yeah.
Who's like his wife and his daughter? Not his daughter, is the dog.
Dog, yeah.
Yeah, see, he mentioned the dog, and then he mentioned the wife, and then I thought, but there's the lady we just saw with the dog. It's the same dog, like some kind of, I kept trying to like draw these connections, because I feel like it's almost there. It's like the tip of my tongue. And
like, I'm 90% sure that wasn't intentional, but we did see it. We thought like, yeah, that's a nice little detail. We can leave it in.
I really like the style of the sprites and the way that it was done. Just the whole thing, like on a whole, like this background that I'm looking at here, just the shading on the leaves and just how this is done. It's just there's something really pleasant about it. They're not terribly complex backgrounds, but they're done in a very artistic way that works really well for this kind of game. And then you've got the music that just fits in with the setting, and then you've got just this, you know, they're talking about airplanes and these airships and things, and it's just cool. It has a cool feeling to it. And so I as a creator, I really enjoy this kind of stuff. I really like it.
You're making me blush.
We'll pass on your regards to Homero, our sprite artist.
Oh yeah, he'll be over the moon.
Yeah, just very,
The other thing,
very unique style.
like if you kind of, actually about the art style itself, we realized, like just last week, after everything was done, we kind of realized what the art style reminded us of. Professor Layton from the old DS games.
Okay.
That kind of
I got some Final Fantasy vibes from the art.
Really?
Yeah.
Like early Final Fantasy vibes? Or...
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now,
Yeah,
I'll tell you
Homero
this.
is an amazing artist.
I think what it really reminds me of, honestly, is Sandra's game. The way that the sprites are done and kind of this sort of sketchy painted look.
Hayseed Knight?
The Hayseed Knight, yeah.
Oh, there's no comparison. That game is really, really fleshed out.
Well, there's a lot more, work that's been put into that game for sure, but sort of the style of just the world and just the way that it feels, I think, with the art and with the sprites. There's something there. There's a comparison to be made there, because this is, I gotta say, it's completely different than, like any of the, Sugawara Chronicle, anime style games. It's completely different. This is something different, and I love different. So.
Well, I can only hope that other people agree after they see and play the game.
Oh yeah, I think they will. I loved it. I had a blast. Good job. And in a NaNoRino too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, my only little disappointment is that there's only been 100 views on so far.
What, on the stream? I haven't
Like
even
on
looked at it.
itch.io.
Oh, okay.
We uploaded the game. We do, however, have 15 downloads so far, so that's a 15% download rate. I'm not going to say no to that.
That's pretty good. I mean, they were probably all us, but that's good.
Oh, and then there's the donations too. We honestly weren't expecting any donations, so thank you for yours and everybody else who might have donated. I doubt any of them are actually watching the stream.
Yeah, that would be a surprise, but yeah. I mean, the donations alone were a surprise.
I do think the stream is recorded as well. I don't know if there's any reason you'd want to go back and watch it, but I know for me, I love going back to watch the streams. So I do have it. It's going to come recorded on Twitch, and I'll download it, and I can put it up on our YouTube channel just so it's there. You can look back on it whenever you want. So for tonight, well, let me take a look at something real quick. So what do you guys, what would you say, and this is a question for both of you, what's your favorite thing about this project?
The project?
The game.
Well, you can't ask me for just one thing. I think the whole thing as a package is just outstanding. I'm really, really proud of everybody who worked on it.
I am particularly fond of the little expression animations that were put into the game.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was cool. I almost felt like... Okay, so the narrative of this game was very good for me. I really liked it. almost to the point where I felt like I couldn't pay attention to the expressions because I was so deep in the narrative of the game.
Yeah, you kept your eyes on like the next line of dialogue rather than like seeing how they were reacting.
And I
when you
like that
clicked.
they didn't move around too much either. It wasn't distracting at all, but it adds that little bit of, like, you'd read the line and then you could look up at the sprite and you could see, oh, she's looking kind of sad. Her face reflects the line. That's very different than the kind of responses you see in a lot of visual novels. It was more so this one. It felt like the core was really based around the novel parts, and it had the NVL stuff telling the story too, which worked really well.
Something that I am always going to be an advocate for is just trying out new things. And something I hadn't seen before was a visual novel that was actually kind of done in kind of a novel way. I wanted to have the novel mode stuff. I wanted it to read like a book. Our writer wanted it to read the same way, and that's how we went about doing that. It was actually almost unintentional, like most good things are. Just kind of happened, and we're like there. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool.
I did notice that it had a little bit of a stylistic writing to it, that it seemed, I want to say, not Victorian exactly, but it had a little bit of the way that the words were done, the phrasing has a little bit
of
of a...
just like a modern day conversation or thing. It kind of felt like this is actually scripted. This is something that characters would say in a story.
It was very, I'm just going to keep saying it over and over again. It was very well done. But something, just something about the way that it was, the way that it was written, the writer and the editor.
Yeah, Lambic is... Well, I edited it, but I didn't wind up doing a whole bunch of edits. I made little changes for flow, but beyond that, not much. But Lambic, he did the whole script in one big go. It took him about a week and a half to actually start and finish it.
What I think was something I noticed really is that in a lot of VNs, there are those lines that you read as you play through the game, and you read the line and you just cringe. You just go, ugh, that's such a stupid line.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of that in here at all. At least not for me, as someone who hasn't been involved like in this game at all. I had nothing to do with it. Not once, which is awesome for a VN because that's so friggin' prominent.
Yeah, I didn't notice any of that myself either. I thought I was gonna be coming back here and looking at the parts that I had edited and just cringing at what a bad job I did. But honestly, I barely noticed.
I feel like that's probably a pitfall that you run into when you're trying to create a quirky character. And the characters in this were kind of limited in how quirky they were. Like, enough to give them character, but not, like, exaggerated.
Yeah, for sure. They were very well done. All the characters were very distinct personalities, but kept to... They're very human. Very sensibly human.
I think that's what the writer's strength is. He's very good about keeping an atmosphere going. And then there's also just how well he meshes characters together. There's no guesswork involved.
Yeah. Just did a great job. All of you. Well done. For NaNoReno game, well done. Good job.
Yay.
Well, that's my dopamine for the month.
I know I haven't said much, but I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream then.
Yeah. Probably gonna hop off PC too. It's late.